Hello and welcome to the program. I am Suren. The other day, somebody asked me something I don't particularly like to answer. But in this moment, I feel that it is probably appropriate to do so. He asked me how old I was. If that person would ask me how young I was, it would be a lot easier. I have just turned 82. Curiosity satisfied. I would like to talk to you about longevity. There are also countless numbers of opinions about this particular issue. When we ask the question, do you wish to live longer? Usually, the members of the younger generation or the positive thinkers and optimistic people answer it with an absolute yes. Whereas some older folk or the more negative thinkers respond to it with a definite no. There are also those who consider themselves as realists who wish to appear wise and try to explain things against long life, believing what they have learned aforetimes about life throughout their experiences. Here's a timely question, particularly for those who would prefer not to know anything about what could be done when new challenges being faced. And long life would bring in more challenges. There are also those who would immediately accept the challenges, and as one of my professors once upon a time said in regard to this topic, that the future belongs to those who accept challenges and accept the responsibilities that come with them. Current trend is that people are living well over 100 years today. And considering the ancient biblical texts, people are seemingly lived once upon a time well beyond the limits of currently considered human lifespan. That is, if we can take the stories as completely truthful in there. So then, longevity is possible by positive thinking. Consider that positive thinking or positive mental attitude and optimism can all contribute to a happier and virtually longer life. Research suggests that the positive thinking can increase life expectancy while reducing the risk of death from various causes and improve overall health and well-being. Well said. But we need to ponder also that it can help stress management, combating low self-esteem, and improve cardiovascular health. Positive mental attitude is a state of mind that involves looking for and executing ways to achieve a desirable outcome, regardless the circumstances. Just think about it for a moment or two. It is the opposite of negative defeatism and hopelessness. In fact, we are discovering that the optimists tend to live between 11 to 15% longer than pessimists and more likely to achieve exceptional longevity, which is defined as living past the age of 85. Remember, in today's terminology, the age 85 is considered as the average limit to human life. Here are some delightful considerations in practice of positive thinking, which you might be interested in. Practice gratitude. Being thankful for what you have can help you recognize what enriches your life and makes you feel happier about them. Try it. You'll be astounded. Practice mindfulness. Being mindful of your thoughts, feelings, and environment can help you feel better mentally and emotionally. Yoga and meditation can lead to mindfulness. It is a practice that can help as well. Optimists tend to live longer, and this is being researched by Lavina Lee, who also conducted university study analyzing 69,744 women from NHS and 1,429 men from the aging study of the US Department of Veterans Affairs. The results tell us that optimists live on average 11 to 15% longer than pessimists, as we said before, and have an excellent chance of achieving exceptional longevity. That is, by definition, an age of over 85 years. And 85 is the average lifespan. These results are not confounded as we read by other factors, such as social economic status, general health, social integration, and lifestyles. Because, according to Lee, the optimists are better at reframing an unfavorable situation and responding to it more effectively. There is an important point to consider in here, and certainly they have a more confident attitude towards life and are committed to overcoming obstacles rather than thinking that they can do nothing to change the things that are wrong. That at least is very, very positive. Do you agree? Right. Now, I was reading some interesting articles about a survey conducted in France in 1998, and which hypothesized a correlation between the death rate and group events that inspired optimism. Listen to this. On July 12th of that year, at the Saint Denis Stadium, the French national soccer team won the World Cup against Brazil, and the data on deaths from cardiovascular events recorded that day's show singular decline compared to the average recorded incidents between July 7 and July 17. But this effect was limited to the male population only, while for women it remained about the same, as the study shows. Although it is not possible to establish a causal link, this curious coincidence, if you call it coincidence, suggested that the massive injection of optimism after the team's victory may have played a great role in this story. That indeed takes us to the subject of the optimist's mind. Starting from the premise that a fundamental part of life is the pursuit of goals, it has been seen that encountering obstacles to achieving these goals can lead to different results, of course, depending on the individual's level of optimism. If the person has confident and positive attitude, they will tend to let it go, overcome the obstacles, and certainly, if they are doubtful that their efforts will succeed, it will tend to go, well, let it go, should I say, perhaps even experiencing frustration from the remaining attachment to this goal, or may become completely disintegrated and fail to achieve their goals. There you have it. Consider that optimism and pessimism posit this mechanism on a larger scale as a mental attitude towards not only single goal, but also the future in general. Believe it or not. Researchers have studied their relationship between these two attitudes and the results obtained during the course of real life situations. It has been seen that optimists are more likely to complete the university studies, not because they are smarter or more intelligent than others, but because they have more motivation and perseverance. Keep it in mind. And they are able to better manage the simultaneous of multiple goals. Making friends, for example, playing sports, enjoying well at school, for instance, optimizing their efforts, showing a greater commitment to priority goals and less commitment to secondary ones. Think about it. Please keep this in mind. The optimist seems to invest their self-regulation resources carefully, increasing effort when circumstances are favorable and decreasing effort when they are less favorable, but also by going more when there is a disadvantage to overcome. In a famous 1990 study by positive psychologist and which I was very fascinated with, this experiment, Martin Seligman, involving college swimming teams. I don't know if you have heard of it. Coaches asked athletes to compete at their best. At the end of the competition, they were given deliberately false results about their performances, increasing their speed by about 2 seconds, which was low enough to be credible, but still enough for the athletes to be disappointed. After a couple of hours of rest, during which they probably mulled over the bad results they had during the last race, the swimmers were called to a second race, and the results between the optimists and pessimists were significantly different. The pessimists were, on average, 1.6% slower than during the first performance, while the optimists swam 0.5% faster. The interpretation of the experiment was that optimists tend to use failure as a goal to do better, whereas pessimists tend to be discouraged more easily and give up more readily. We have heard this following notion a number of times. Optimism, like a muscle, can be strengthened through positivity and gratitude, says cardiologist Ellen Rosansky. Results of DNA studies also seem to contain the idea that optimism is an effective tool for slowing down cellular aging, of which telomere shortening is a biomarker. Telomeres are the protective caps at the end of our chromosomes, as you may know. This research is still in progress, but the early results are very informative. In 2012, Elizabeth Blackburn, who 3 years earlier shared a Nobel Prize for her work in discovering an enzyme that replenishes the telomere, and Elissa Apel at the University of California at San Francisco collaboration with other institutions identified the correlation between pessimism and accelerated telomere shortening in a group of post-menopausal women. A pessimistic attitude, they found may indeed be associated with shorter telomeres. Let us also consider the studies are moving towards larger sample sizes, but it already seems apparent that optimism and pessimism play a significant role in our health as well as in the rate of cellular senescence. More recently, in 2021, Harvard University scientists, as in elsewhere, in collaboration with Boston University and the Ospedale Maggiore Milan, Italy, observed the telomeres of 490 elderly men in the normative health study on U.S. veterans subjects with strongly pessimistic attitudes were associated with shorter telomeres, further encouraging findings in the study of those mechanisms that make optimism and pessimism biologically relevant. Think about that. And now, to add a little more to your curiosity, optimism is, though to be genetically determined for only 25% of the population. For the rest, it is the result of our social relationships or deliberate effort to learn more about positive thinking. Consider, in an interview with Jane Brody for the New York Times, Rosansky explained that our way of thinking is habitually unaware, so the first step is to learn to control ourselves. When negative thoughts assail us and commit ourselves to change the way we look at things, it is a consideration. We must recognize the old way of thinking is not necessarily the only way of looking at the situation. It is said that this thought alone can lower the toxic toxic effect of negativity. For Rosansky, optimism, like a muscle, can be trained to overcome stronger through positive and gratitude in order to replace an irrational negative thought with a positive one, or positive and more reasonable one. While the exact mechanism remain under investigation, a growing study of or body of research suggests that optimism plays a significant role in promoting both physical and mental well-being. Obviously, cultivating positive outlook then can be of a powerful tool for fostering resilience against anything causing stress and potentially even enhancing longevity. By adapting practices that nurture optimism, we can empower ourselves to navigate life's challenges with greater strength and live healthier, happier lives. Remember that optimism linked to longevity and well-being in 2 recent studies show us the results. Optimism is linked to a longer lifespan in women from diverse racial and ethnic groups, and they are better in their wellness, emotional health, in order to live well. In older men, according to funded studies, one study showed that they previously have established a link between optimism and longevity, which applies to racially and ethnically diverse populations of women, and that the link is only partially due to changes in health behaviors. Furthermore, the other study showed that more optimistic men have fewer negative emotions. They, in part, to reduce exposure to stressful situations. These findings suggesting that increasing optimism may be a way to extend lifespan and improve well-being in older adults. Consider it. Previous research has established that good optimism is associated with healthy aging and longevity. However, most of these studies were conducted in non-Hispanic white populations. The collaborative study published in the Journal of the American Geriatrics Society, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, researchers from Howard University, Boston University, School of Medicine, University of California, San Diego, and the Von Alpert Medical School of Brown University explored the link between optimism and longevity in racially diverse populations of women, as we can read. Researchers analyzed the data from over 150,000 women between just 50 to 79, collected as a part of the Women's Health Initiative. This included non-Hispanic, white, black, Hispanic Latin, the Asian women. Each participating in this study completed and validated optimism tests and provided demographics and healthy information. When, of course, scientists analyzed the data, they found that the most optimistic women lived on the average 5.4% longer. The most optimistic women were also more likely to achieve exceptional longevity, defined as living over 90 years. These trends were consistent across all racial and ethnic groups. Scientists also tested their hypotheses that optimistic women live longer because they have healthy lifestyles. Previous studies showed that optimistic people are likely to engage in behaviors that promote health and longer lifespan. Given this, the authors used statistical methods to determine whether lifestyle factors could explain the link between optimists and the lifespan. Specifically, the study of the collected information, exercise, diet, body mass index, smoking history, and alcohol consumption, showed some great deal of results. The researchers found that these factors only accounted for 25% of the link between optimism and longevity. These results suggest that the link between optimism and lifespan may be partially due to healthier behaviors, but that other pathways and factors are also likely to be involved. That is a different study and consideration we will be looking into. Another study published in the journals of gerontology explored the idea that reductions in stressful experiences could be one of the factors that explain the link between optimism and better health. Prior studies from other research groups established that stress exposure is linked to worse health and shorter lifespan. In this study, a group of scientists from the Boston healthcare system, Boston University, Harvard University, T.H. Chan Scholar or School of Public Health, Rush Medical College, and others, analyzed the relationship between optimism, stress, and emotional well-being in older men. Researchers found that more optimistic men experienced fewer negative emotions. More than 50% of this link could be explained reduced exposure to daily stressors. These results suggest that optimism may cause older adults to direct their attention away from or channeling or changing how they think about stressful situation when they are faced with. The authors note that their study is limited in that participants were all male, primarily white, and had a higher socioeconomic status than to general public. To determine whether the results apply to everyone, the study should be repeated in more diverse populations. Results from these two studies provide important insights into how optimism may improve health and longevity. Findings from the first study show that optimism is linked to a longer lifespan across racial and ethnic groups, although differences in healthy behaviors can explain a modest portion of this link that is only part of this story. The second study suggests that optimism may benefit health and well-being because it is linked to reduced exposure to stress, because optimism is a modifiable characteristic that can be managed with interventions, that writing exercises and therapy improving optimism may be an effective strategy to improve health and extend lifespan across racial and ethnic groups. Keep it in mind. There you have it. Do not, I repeat, do not worry. Find positive solutions. Be cheerful and exercise gratitude, and you will live longer in good health. May it be so. Thank you for sharing this time with me. We shall meet again by the next episode. Until then, keep smiling, be happy, be positive, and thank you.